One of the biggest requests that I've had is my opinion on Apple, its direction, what do I think of what the media says about what the investors are doing, is it really the end of Apple, so on and so forth. So I'm going to try to keep it short. I know I have a reputation for having very long videos, but I kind of like to change that. So I think in short, Apple's doomed. You know, it's kaput. Thanks for watching. Now I bet a lot of you went ahead and clicked the thumbs down. That's alright. That's what I get for a sarcastic ass introduction and probably a bait and switch type title, if you will. Alright, so let's give my honest assessment of what's really going on. The media, they're going to do their sensationalist things, right? That's headlines, advertisements, stuff like that. But that can go both ways, right? The media has hyped up Apple at times, and there are going to be times that they downplay it. I mean, doesn't that go with everything? So take it for what it is. Then there's investors. Now, investors is a different thing. I know a lot of Apple pundits will use whole numbers like Apple's entire profit margin, basically, in terms of a dollar amount, is larger than, you know, bazillion companies put together or whatever. But the problem is investors look at rates, not so much the whole numbers, so to speak. So because the rates give the direction of what they're wanting. Now, does a short of Apple necessarily mean there's a lack of confidence? It can be, but my best guess is that a lot of the shorting was for profit taking and trying to get Apple to move more of its cash to the investors. And so I think you see a lot of that. Now, the other thing is that a lot of investors also want to encourage Apple to do other things. So they will of course have their own behavior that they think will make Apple do X, Y, and Z things, and these type of things go on all the time. Now, the message though that the investors are giving, despite what many people may take as a negative connotation. Remember, these are the same analysts and investors everybody was using as sources to say, see, this analyst says Apple stock's going to hit 1,000. This analyst says this is going to happen great for Apple. But now a lot of Apple supporters don't like those very same analysts if they're trying to have a negative connotation on Apple. But is really what the investors are saying something negative? The message that I'm seeing that the investors are saying is that, hey, Apple, we want more. We want you to do more. Is that necessarily such a bad thing to say? Is that really a bad message to Apple to say, hey man, what you had is great. It's reflected in all of the numbers, but we'd like to see more. I don't think that's such a bad thing for investors to say. Then the next thing is I get, well, Mr. Bit, Steve Jobs is no longer around anymore, right? What now for Apple? What is you know, they've lost a great genius, and they're far and few between, and what's going to happen? Well, would it be fair to answer that in saying that part of Steve Jobs' genius is that he sees the genius in others? I think the team in charge of Apple is quite competent in what they're wanting to do. I think some of the changes that have occurred now that Jonathan Ives will be put in a bigger, larger role of what we will see in the end for the iOS platform especially, is a very good thing. And I think that iteration of his vision will probably take a little while to come to full front. But I think that's a very good thing. It also means that Apple looks at itself internally and is critiquing itself, which is going to lead me to the last point, of which people, probably the biggest thing, is that people are just regular people like me and other pundits, or people complain, just say, oh, iOS is stale, I don't like iOS anymore, I want to switch to Android, this and that, and whatever, all these other kinds of things, and they need to change this and that. I think all of that is a good thing. What I don't think is a good thing is people, just like the Mac versus PC wars of yesteryear, should I say, that are saying, well, since you don't like iOS, just leave, go do something else. When product and advancement usually comes from self-critiquing, from complaining, from wanting more, from demanding more, from saying, you know what, this sucks, I want it to do something else. Not from saying, well, it's perfect as it is, and I'm so happy with it, and that's it, I don't need it to do anything else. I mean, this is it's absurdity. We should always push and challenge ourselves. That's exactly how we advance in computing, especially when having from developed and watching how developer curve argued against Apple development from iOS from its inception of moving from browser-based applications, and that was touted as, well, this is just awesome. This is what we're going to do. Everything's going to run through Safari on the iPhone, and that's it. We don't need anything to do anything else. And you could find whatever you want to call it, the hardest Apple supporters taking that and say, yeah, that's it. And then what do you have now? Native apps, different APIs, expansion of APIs. And all along the way, you have these Apple supporters saying, we don't need that. But yet when it comes, they embrace it. And then the excuse is, well, it's just done perfectly, or some bizarre crap like that. The thing of it is that if Apple can look at itself and say, we need to reorganize and do something else, and maybe we want to go this direction or whatever, there's nothing wrong with complaining and saying, hey, you want to do this. Now, there's that. And then there's, of course, the people that are just going to hate Apple no matter what and just forget. Of course, there's nothing constructive in that. But if users themselves that use a product and say, you know what, I want better multitasking, I want this and that. The answer shouldn't be, well, I don't need it. I use one app at a time, so I don't need it. Whatever. What? Each of you are going to have your own opinions of it. But as long as the conversation, the complaining, is all going on, this is a good thing. So, as far as Apple is concerned, yeah, there's going to be people that are going to jump on the bandwagon and say, yes, good Apple, let's get it done, get it, Apple's finished, and just like they lost to Microsoft, they're going to lose Android, all this other crap, whatever. Apple is far larger, got a hell of a lot more cash, and I don't see any really signs that are saying anything bad. Now, let me give you my opinion now, beyond of what's been out there, and just for myself. iOS is the oldest platform out there in the mobile space, which I think gives it a great advantage for change to make the next step up. I actually love this question when people say, where do you think mobile is going to be in 10 years? I don't think there should be something that says mobile anything in 10 years. I think mobile should just simply be a service. What we have now for quote-unquote mobile is headed right back to concurrency and multitasking at the desktop level. Just as these hardware system on the chips are getting better, we're getting better threading, we're moving forward. And what you think as mobile now is going to be right back to the trucks, quote-unquote, as Apple would say. See, I don't look at, you may not like the box of a desktop. I've really never advocated, or I don't think anybody should really advocate a form factor. A desktop, to me, has always been what the software can offer and do. And what we have now in forms of tablets and phones and all that is headed right back there. Look at consumers. We're demanding more. We're wanting it to do more. Programmers are wanting more APIs, wanting to do this and that. And the company's responding. And so I think Apple's in a great position to do the next thing. They've had the experience. They're able to work out a lot. They've been able to take what they've learned and employ it. We've seen it now. You're going to have the Android people. I say, and I agree with in part with what a lot of some of the Android fanboys say. Oh, well, look at this feature. Let's look at this feature. Look at this feature, and all that. That's fine. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a good or bad thing, right? Operating systems look at each other and say, hey, this is a cool thing. This is a cool thing. Whatever. But having experience is always a good thing to help move you forward to the next best thing. And I think iOS, from what I'm seeing at least, internally, is headed, I think, in the right direction. And I think the UI changes are going to come. I think some of some of the complaints that people are demanding are coming. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.